The surprise comes at the beginning of John Wick 4 when it is quickly mentioned that the Elder from John Wick 3 has died. In the previous film, he was played by said Tagmaui. At the start of the sequel, John Wick is looking for a new Elder at the High Table. It is mentioned that the Elder John Wick used to encounter is now dead and has been replaced by a new man played by George Georgiou. It seems that the consequences of the change of elders cost John Wick dearly. A moment in John Wick 4 reveals that John's wedding ring is missing. John memorably cut off his ring finger in John Wick Chapter 3 and lost his wedding ring as the price of his renewed commitment to high position. His attempts to get his ring back at the start of John Wick 4 prove futile as he leaves Morocco without reminding him of his commitment to Helen. Another John Wick 4 Easter egg comes with Clancy Brown's Harbinger character, who only has 4 fingers on one hand. This mirrors what John Wick's hand looks like after John Wick 3. The exciting aspect of this detail is that even a high-ranking person in the High Table like Harbinger once had to prove his allegiance to the cause and cut off one of his fingers in the past. So far, it has been fairly easy to keep track of the timeline of the John Wick films, as the first 2 films were made right after the events of the previous films. This is changing with John Wick 4 to make the franchise the biggest time jump yet. While the film doesn't state exactly how much time has passed since John Wick 3 ended, director Chad Stahelski says that John Wick 4 takes place about 7 or 8 months later. It's teased through the healed scars of the Bowery King, the recovery of John Wick from the fall from the Continental, and the snow that came later in New York. Donnie Yen's Kane is one of the big new additions to the cast of John Wick 4, and his casting as a blind assassin is a nod to his other famous role. While the martial arts star gets to showcase his extensive fighting skills throughout the film, Yen previously starred in Rogue One, a Star Wars story, as Chirrut Imwe. Chirrut and Kane are very different characters, but the bond between them as blind, skilled fighters is a fun one to trace through Yen's filmography. The bounty on John Wick's head is significantly higher than in John Wick 3. After seeing the price on his head rise to $14 million by the end of the previous film, it quickly rises to $18 million when the Marquis Vincent de Gramont, Bill Skarsgård, tries to track him down. This is the first of many price increases for the John Wick Award. This leads to the bounty for killing him rising to $40 million in an attempt by the Marquis to get someone to kill John Wick before the duel takes place. The creation of the world in John Wick 4 involved introducing the 4th Continental featured in the franchise by visiting Osaka, Japan. Osaka Continental is run by manager Shimazu Koji, Hiroyuki Sanada. After primarily using the Continental Hotel in New York City throughout the franchise, Osaka joins Rome and Casablanca as confirmed locations with other versions of the establishment. One John Wick 4 actor is worth noting, as Akira's actress Rina Sawayama is making her feature film debut with the role. Sawayama has already starred in 2 episodes of Turn Up Charlie once before, but she is better known for her musical career as an international pop star. Her performance as Akira is both emotionally and physically impressive as it is her film debut, but Sawayama has honed her craft over the years through various music videos. She may also return based on the post-credits scenes of John Wick 4. John Wick 4's international story allows you to explore different cultures, and the armored soldiers featured in the Osaka Continental Raid include some great references to Japanese samurai and warriors. Not to be mistaken with the bulletproof armored high table soldiers from John Wick 3, these soldiers have Japanese connections through their armor. This includes faces on masks that are popular in Japanese mythology. The detailed John Wick 4 armor includes elements similar to traditional samurai armor, from arm guards to chest armor. There are several allusions to John Wick's family in John Wick Chapter 4, which allude to details established earlier. This includes confirming his connection to the Russian crime syndicate Ruska Roma. The movie also explicitly mentions that he was an orphan before his family accepted him into the group. This proves to be a particularly meaningful bond for John, as only after he has been branded with the family crest can he challenge the Marquis to a duel. Dogs have always been a soft spot in the John Wick movies, but it was in John Wick 3 that they were brought into the spotlight thanks to Sophia's, Halle Berry's, trained pets. After helping create some very memorable sequences in the film, they don't return, but John Wick 4's Mr. Nobody, Shamir Anderson, adds another dog to the mix. This dog is trained to attack and Mr. Nobody usually tells him to attack the male genitals. It may not be the same dogs as before, but John Wick 4 has more action involving man's best friend. A staple of the John Wick films was the way Keanu Reeves' character hits, punches, and shoots his enemies in the middle of a rave. This is a sequence that was included in the first two films and turned out to be quite memorable, especially because the gunshots were synchronized to the musical beat. John Wick 4 gives Keanu another opportunity to take on the bad guys in the middle of a club, this time as he tries to finish a job that will get him back in his family's good graces. Killa plays a pivotal role in John Wick 4 as the man John must kill in order to become part of the Ruska Ram syndicate again, and he proves to be a difficult opponent. This was largely due to the fact that an experienced stuntman and action actor Scott Adkins was chosen for this role. It's a pretty unrecognizable transformation for the actor thanks to the massive bodysuit needed to bring Killa to life. But Scott Adkins' role in John Wick 4 doesn't waste his martial arts skills. John Wick 4's quick Easter egg appears when John is reunited with the Ruska Roma syndicate, as his birth name Jardani is mentioned by Katya, Natalia Tina. In John Wick 3, the franchise revealed that John Wick's real full name is Jardani Jovanovic. Since he had this name as a member of the Ruska Roma family, it is only logical that Katya called him Jardani, since that is what she used to call him before. A tide of real art seeps into John Wick 4 when Winston, Ian McShane, visits the Marquis at the Louvre in Paris. This includes viewing several famous paintings, including a prominent location of Liberty leading the people. An 1830 painting by Eugene Delacroix is shown, which attracts the attention of the Marquis. In addition to portraying freedom and democracy, Liberty leading the people also symbolizes how people can escape oppressive regimes. It helps to represent John Wick's quest to get out from under the high table as a result. The other painting in the Louvre that has received the most screen time is the famous work known as the Raft of the Medusa. Created by Theodore Géricault in 1818 to 1819, the painting was supposed to depict all kinds of emotions that people can experience in a given situation. The Raft of the Medusa is depicted behind Winston as he begins to leave the Louvre, but stops in front of him near the end of his conversation with the Marquis. This can help represent the different emotions viewers will experience as the finale of John Wick 4 unfolds, or the tragic nature and high casualty of what is about to happen. Another potentially important John Wick 4 Easter egg comes when the Marquis is shown alone in the theater, watching a ballerina perform on stage. This may just be a sign of his incredible wealth and power, but it could also help tease Ana de Armas' spin-off film The Ballerina. John Wick 3 solidified the idea that assassins could be trained as dancers in New York, but perhaps the same practice is taking place in Paris. If so, it could be related to the first John Wick spin-off starring Ana de Armas. There are many things that John Wick loves in this world, such as his wife and dogs. But he also greatly appreciates a good car, even if it usually ends up broken and damaged. His penchant for driving black muscle cars continues into the ending of John Wick 4 in a funny nod to that part of his life. As his survival night in Paris begins, he accidentally finds a black muscle car that can be used as a vehicle and weapon. The action scenes of John Wick 4 are the highlight of the film, and one of them might remind action fans of Mission Impossible Fallout for good reason. Both films include key driving sequences at the Arc de Triomphe. Mission Impossible. In Fallout, Ethan Hunt from Tom Cruise raced around the location on a motorcycle, but in John Wick 4, Keanu Reeves' character was driving his car in the opposite direction of travel. Another fun detail in John Wick 4 that many might miss is the film's unexpected connection to Game of Thrones. Act 3 introduces new cannons that fire bullets that explode on impact and start a fire. Not only are they real, but the name of the gun and bullets are taken from the popular HBO series. The gun used by John Wick and his enemies is known as the Terran Tactical Innovations Dracarys Gen 12. The inclusion of Dracarys is a reference to the Targaryen order for dragons to breathe fire. Meanwhile, the projectiles they fire are known as Dragon's Breath, an apt name based on the connection to Game of Thrones. Dogs have always been a key part of the John Wick franchise, and John Wick is proving just how much he loves them in the new movie. When given the opportunity to kill Mr. Nobody, he turns his gun away and shoots Chitty, Marco Zaror, instead. It's because Chitty is going to kill Mr. Nobody's dog. John knows firsthand how much pain the loss of a dog can cause, in which case he chooses to protect the dog from himself. Another John Wick 4 Easter egg has to do with Kane's decision to use a pencil as a weapon. The film franchise created a legend in the first film about John using a pencil to kill people. John Wick 2 played a joke by letting Keanu Reeves' character kill someone with a pencil. Now Kane decides to keep one in his jacket as a last resource for the fight and uses it to stab Chitty in the arm. It's unclear if John Kane was teaching how deadly writing implements can be, or vice versa, but John Wick 4 reminds everyone that they're pretty dangerous. The emotion viewers may feel as they watch John Wick die in the film's final moments may mean some details are missing. This includes that John Wick's last word before he died was simply Helen. The mention of his wife comes after a montage of his memories with her, and then John Wick 4 shows their headstones next to each other. This is where the film pays off at an earlier point, as John Wick's tombstone reads a loving husband, making it a legacy. John Wick's dog returns in John Wick 4 in a very small role. The pet that has been with him since the end of the first film is shown to be Bowery King's. This includes ensuring that John Wick's dog is present at his funeral. The last detail that viewers may have missed in John Wick 4 is the post-credits scene. In it, Akira tries to kill Kane as revenge for him killing her father. The post-credits scene of John Wick 4 ends before any character's fate is revealed, but Akira's naked knife teases that there's more to come. Those who don't linger in the credits will miss the scene that starts another John Wick spin-off. It's not a little Easter egg in John Wick Chapter 4, but it does help tease the future of the franchise.